All right, peoples, here we go. First thing, I know that there are a lot of people out there who get a little stressed about writing. So I'm here to tell you that Ms. DC created this assignment to make it as least stressful as possible. So take a deep breath, think a positive thought, because you guys can do this. You can totally do this, and you're going to do a great job. First thing I want you to do is I want you to click on the Unit 1 Writing Summative Reteach. So click on that, and you want to click on Make a Copy. All right, and there is your very own copy of what we're doing today. Okie dokie. Couple of things for you guys to know just at the top. We're going to be doing this because I think that maybe looking at it a little bit differently. When you see what Ms. DC created for you guys, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. So I do want you to know that your rewrite is due to us on Monday, November 9th, and that's a firm deadline. So please don't wait till the last minute. Don't do this when you're really, really tired. We're going to give you time in class today. Please ask us questions. If you're stuck, tell us. We'll help you. You're not alone in this, okay? All right, so how many people know about Mad Libs? Mad Libs is kind of a fun way. You can get a whole book of them. You can do them on dogs or holidays or whatever. But basically, Mad Libs, you fill in the blanks of a paragraph with words of your choice, and it creates like a story, or in our case, a paragraph. So we're going to just try this below. So we're starting off real gentle. For all you guys who really, really don't like to write, this is easy peasy, all right? So I made this one up. It's just called Halloween Traditions. So, and I am going to change, let's see here. All right. So here's what a Mad Lib looks like. So Halloween traditions, carving blank is a favorite Halloween tradition for many people. So I'm going to write in what my answer is. You guys could put in whatever answer you wanted to. Okay, let me just go back. Okay, so delete that. Oops. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so carving pumpkins. Whoops. Delete. Carving pumpkins. Okay, is a, here we go. It's a favorite Halloween tradition for many people. Many people pick their pumpkins directly out of and here's another place where you're going to stick a word of your choice. So in this one, you could say field, you could say pumpkin patch, whatever you want. So field, even though you can get muddy. Some people choose blank pumpkins while others prefer blank ones. So this gives you another chance to fill in something that you like. So you could choose it by color. So some people like the orange pumpkins, some people like green pumpkins, some people like those funky white pumpkins that they've got. Some people, the size matters, so they want big pumpkins or little pumpkins. So whatever you want to put in there. So big, I'm going to put big pumpkins, while others often prefer small ones. Whoops. Hold on. There we go. Small ones. Okay, so the insides of a pumpkin are filled with blank and blank, which are slimy. So again, you can choose. When I was a kid growing up, my dad used to make it extra gory by saying that pumpkins were filled with guts. So I'm going to use quotation mark, pumpkin guts, and seeds. I'm going to put seeds. You can put like whatever you want, because some people put like, somebody referred to it one time as like hair on the inside, and I'm like, oh, it's freaky. So pumpkins and seeds. There we go, which are slimy. Carving a pumpkin is one of my, and now you can, again, fill in your choice of word. It could be favorite, one of my least favorite, one of my worst memories, one of my best memories, whatever works for you. So carving a pumpkin is one of my favorite memories of my childhood. Okay, so there we go. We filled in a couple of words. We've got a full paragraph. We're good to go. So you get the idea of what a Mad Lib is like. Well, Ms. DC wanted to make sure that she could take some of the stress and confusion out of writing. So she basically created an outline that's like a Mad Lib for you guys. Easy peasy, guys. So here we go. So the first thing that you, of course, had to do is you had to read an original fairy tale and a parody. If you didn't do that part, the rest of this is going to be a little bit difficult because you won't have that information. If you didn't read a fairy tale and a parody, you can go down to right down here. I think it's on the page 3. And on the left side are the original fairy tales. And on the right side are the parodies. And if you pick one that has 2 parodies, like the 3 Little Pigs, you only have to do one of them. Yay! Less work. Okay. So once you've read them, then basically you're going to go to this Mad Lib kind of outline form that Ms. DC made for you. And so I did my first paragraph. I chose one of the focus characteristics. And for those of you, there are a number of people that got confused, like what is a focus characteristic of a fairy tale? Hey, just scoot on down and look right below. And there you go. Boom. Characteristics of fairy tales. So these are all things that fairy tales tend to have. So a story beginning, setting, fairy godmother, godfather, magical person, mistreatment of the main character, evil, wicked characters, talking animals, magic elements, groups of 3s or 7s, a story ending that is happy or concludes with happily ever after, or a lesson or moral for the audience to learn. So I chose magical elements. So if you look at the outline then, if you look at what's in blue, this was part of the outline that Ms. DC gave you. And basically, you can just stick words in and write your paragraphs. So right here, it says focus characteristic. So I wrote in the stuff in pink is my writing. So magical element, because that was the focus characteristic that I chose. So magical elements are one thing that makes The Princess Bride a parody of Cinderella. And if you look right up here, there's all of that. You just have to put in the stuff that's underlined. Easy. Not so bad. Not so bad. Okay, so then an elaboration just means that you're giving a little bit more information about your topic. Okay, because remember, your topic sentence is where you're cluing your reader in on what you're going to write about. So I elaborated on mine by said, in fact, many fairy tales have magic as part of their focus, which is true. That's why we like them. Okay, so then the next sentence you're going to write, because these are sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3, is evidence of the similarity from the parody. And again, right here is where you're just going to insert words. So similarities in or with, insert your focus characteristic, can be seen when, and then in the story, it says that's only if you're going to use a quote. So here's what I wrote. Similarities in magical elements can be seen in The Princess Bride when a miracle pill is created by Miracle Max to bring Wesley back to life. Okay? That's only one sentence. Now I'm going to explain my evidence, and that's going to take 2 to 3 sentences. So, again, Ms. DC is getting you started right here. So I took exactly what she has, and this is what I wrote. Just like in the original version of Cinderella, magic is used to create coachmen out of mice and slippers out of glass. The Princess Bride is a clear imitation of the original tale because a magical being, Miracle Max, uses magic to create a magic pill that can bring the main character back to life. Okay, so you're just basically explaining what the miracle pill was. Why is it a big deal? Okay, now I'm going to write a paragraph about the differences between Cinderella and between The Princess Bride. So again, right here, on the other hand, differences in or with, and then you put your focus characteristic, which is magic. Magical elements can be seen when, so you're just basically using this wording to set up your paragraph. So here's my sentence. On the other hand, differences in the story's use of magic can be seen when the magic pill is created. Okay, now I've got to explain that a little bit. Like, what the heck's going on? So again, here you go. Here's wording to get you started. And I'm just going to read what I wrote. Unlike the original version of the story, which is Cinderella, that uses bold magic to create a coachman from mice, The Princess Bride is a parody because the magic pill brings the main character back to life. The difference in the level of magic used creates humor in the parody. While bringing the main character back to life is interesting, it does not have the same impact as seeing mice transform into human coachmen. So what I'm trying to say in those couple of sentences is that, yeah, it's cool that they gave Wesley a magic pill that brought him back to life. But when you compare that to Cinderella, where you've got the fairy godmother with her wand and, there's sparkles everywhere, and you watch the mice transform into the coachmen with the cool uniforms and everything, that's kind of over the top. Whereas the magic pill, it's okay. All right, finally, the wrap-up sentence. And what I did for this, if you look here, she's giving you clues about how to do each of these sentences. Restate the topic sentence in different words, maybe even switch up the order, and list the key details that you discussed in the paragraph. So I'm going to go back up to my topic sentence. Okay. Magical elements are one thing that makes The Princess Bride a parody of Cinderella. I just copied that and I plopped it into my wrap-up sentence. And then I just switched things around a little bit. So then this becomes one thing that makes The Princess Bride a parody of Cinderella are its magical elements like the magic pill, which we've been talking about. So if you look at that and you use these kind of Mad Lib-like starters for each of the sections, you're going to be just fine. Okay, don't make it harder than it is. You don't have to do everything on your own because Ms. DC gave you basically Mad Libs over here to fill stuff in and directions. Like, why are you doing this? Well, because you got to explain how the detail is similar to the original fairy tale. Does that make more sense to you guys? Okay. So in paragraph 2, Ms. DC, did you want to pick a different element the way that you explained it last time? I really liked your explanations. Okay, so we're going to paragraph 2. In paragraph 2, we have to pick another element of fairy tales. So I'm turning it over to Ms. DC. All right, folks. So we're continuing on with The Princess Bride versus Cinderella, correct?
Okay, so I like to do the one of the focus characteristics that, one of the characteristics that I think is really cool to focus on with The Princess Bride are the evil looking characters. So I'm going to put evil characters. That is the characteristic of fairy tales that I am choosing for this paragraph. So whichever one you're doing, put that in right now. Like, literally do it right now while I'm doing it to mine. Then you have your parody title that you have to insert. Mine is The Princess Bride. And of course the original as well, which is Cinderella. And you might notice that I have quotation marks around it. That's because that's how you format a title of a short story like Cinderella. So take just a minute to fill that in.
Remember, all the characteristics of fairy tales are just down below. I think it's page 3, if you're wondering which one to use.
So now we want to talk about your elaboration on the topic sentence. Actually, if you scroll down to page 3 we're in page 4. Page 4. Page 4, where the characteristics of fairy tales start. When you find that characteristic, it'll have some bullet points underneath it that describe it. These are the things that you want to work into your elaboration on the topic sentence. These are the things that you want to include when you're describing what that trait is like. So for evil, wicked characters, these are the things that I have. So when I go back up here, then I want to write something like in every fairy tale, there is an evil character who takes actions against the main character and is sometimes also the helper character. As long as you had this first part, I think it'd be fine. So I could have even stopped it right there. Okay, so take a minute to type your elaboration on the topic sentence, and then we'll get started again. Okay, so
talking animals.
Hopefully you have typed your elaboration on the topic sentence. The next thing that we want to tackle is our evidence of similarity from the parody. So again, I have my focus characteristic, which was evil, wicked character. So I can plug that into this formula here, similarities in or with evil characters. I also have to pick one of these words, in or with. I think it works either way, so I'm just going to go with N. Okay, it can be seen when. When what?
So now you're going to go back down and look at the talking animals, and that's where you're going to say like what it is.
When
you're just explaining what that is.
when this can be seen when Wesley has to battle Inigo, Fezzik, and Vicini.
Or was there a talking object? Okay.
So now we have those similarities in evil characters. That evidence. I've named the specific thing that happens. And so I don't have a quote. You only need to use the second sentence if you have a quote, and I don't. So I'm going to take that out. To make sure you have a nice, good, specific detail in there. I'll give you a couple minutes on that. Okay, so now you have to explain how it is like what happens in the original version of the story. So I can even say, in just like Cinderella, the evil characters, just like Cinderella, when her sisters
and then where it says we can just
tear up the dress she makes.
From where it says all the way to the end. Okay, so now you're going to explain it.
Characters make it difficult for Wesley
gingerbread man,
to
so you put the gingerbread man.
live happily ever after with Rebecca.
The gingerbread girl. Okay, so explain how this detail is similar to the original fairy tale. The gingerbread girl has a talking. Would you say they're like talking cookies?
And then we have
just like in the original version of the gingerbread man, the gingerbread girl.
Princess Bride, because we have to put the title in again. It's a clear imitation of the original tale because Wesley can't rescue Buttercup without defeating these three who have kidnapped her. So there we go. Now I have an explanation. So that's all you really need to do is tell how it's like the original story, and then how it and then you're explaining how specifically the parody imitates that. Then, so you'll have details from the original tale, probably in the just like, and then you'll have more details from the parody in the because, explaining why it's an imitation of fairy tales. All right, so I'll give you a couple minutes. Okay, so one thing I want you to note about the explanation is that the explanation is longer than the evidence. Look at how much longer the explanation is than the evidence. It needs to be longer than the evidence. If your explanation is not longer than the evidence, you're not explaining enough. I hope I said that enough times that it's now stuck in your head because I really annoyingly said it over and over again. But it has to be longer than the evidence. So let's take a look at differences now. So on the other hand, differences in choosing in. Now I need to put in my focus characteristic, which is evil characters can be seen when Fezzik and Indigo help Wesley rescue Buttercup from Prince Humperdinck's castle. And I don't need in the story, it says, because I'm not using a quote. And you don't have to. Not required. You do need to use a specific detail. This has specific details in it. It has specific characters' names, something specific that they did. So take a minute to add that. All right, let's look at your explanation. So unlike the original version of the story, and you have to finish that sentence by saying how it's not like the original version of the story, or well, not like Cinderella in this case.
So now what you're going to do, copy the sentence. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to copy and paste your entire sentence.
So unlike Cinderella, the evil characters turn good. And then I'm going to add in Cinderella the stepsisters or her stepfamily
Objects because yours is really about objects. Okay. So
doesn't tell the
so what I want you to
prince
do then is you're going to take part of
that
this, you're going to put down because you can't have it exactly.
she is
right?
in the
So we're
house
just going to flip it. So we're going to
when he comes to
the gingerbread girl is a parody of the gingerbread
when he comes
man.
to have the women of the house try on the glass slipper. This difference creates humor in the parody because you wouldn't expect the bad guys to turn out to be helpful. It seems silly that they would help him, Wesley, rescue the same girl they had kidnapped earlier. So I'm really just kind of explaining my thinking about those details. Another thing to think about when you're including your evidence that I'm not sure if it has been mentioned is that you want to make the assumption that the reader has read the same thing that you have. But you want to kind of assume that it was like a long time ago, so they remember the gist of the story, like they could summarize the basic plot, but they maybe don't remember details. So the details are the things that you need to tell your reader. You don't need to tell them what the whole story was about. Assume that they have read the whole story and they understand what the whole story is about. All right, so take just 2 minutes to do that explanation, and then we'll talk about the wrap-up sentence. Okay, so last but not least, we have the wrap-up sentence. And the wrap-up sentence is pretty easy. I just start by coming up here and copying my topic sentence. And then I paste my topic sentence down here. And then I find the verb are. Okay, evil characters are another thing. Okay, so now I want to take this everything after are, and I'm going to put it in front of that. So another thing that makes The Princess Bride a parody of Cinderella. So now I've changed the wording of it. I've changed up the order. Cinderella.
Okay. I haven't looked at it in a while.
Are.
What I would do, just to help you kind of get is I would read the ending of both of them and see, because that would be kind of an easy one to do. Because usually the ending in a fairy tale is the and they lived happily ever after. See if that is similar in the Gingerbread Girl or if it's different, and then you can just fill that out the same way.
So are evil characters. I have to say like Inigo and Fezzik. And then I've got it. I'm done with my paragraph. So that is how I would go about writing a paragraph.